All right, everybody, welcome to Unscripted. And it's been a minute since I've had an unscripted podcast, but it's been well worth the wait. I believe, hopefully after today's episode, everyone will also agree to that. But from my basement studios, soon to be studios at the Junction very soon. Let me go ahead and run through a quick introduction. And you all know I don't read well, but let me go ahead and try it. Manny Ohonme has achieved international recognition as a philanthropist, social entrepreneur, businessman, author, and speaker. He is the founder, president, and CEO of Samaritan's Feet, a nonprofit organization established in 2003 that has provided more than 6.5 million pairs of shoes, and I bet that number's higher even now because the website was probably outdated, shoes to individuals in needs across 88 countries around the world and in hundreds of cities across the United States of America. His organization has worked with more than 100,000 volunteers, and now, after developing and starting to manufacture the Samaritan's Feet innovative world shoe, which I can't wait to hear about, Manny and his team are focused on realizing the day when there will no longer be any shoeless children. With more than 20 years of experience as a global leader, Manny enjoys sharing his insight, along with his inspirational story of being born in, is it Lagos? Lagos, Nigeria, and how shoes became the symbol of hope and a vehicle to help transform lives of millions of people living in poverty around the world. Please give a big unscripted welcome to my new friend, Manny. Manny, wow, I'm speechless. And I just told you a minute ago, we had to wait because I wanted to tell you this. If I get through this and don't tear up at some point, it'll be a miracle, man. It'll be a miracle. And I've only cried on one other episode. But I'm going to tell you, man, watching your videos and just becoming more familiar with you, I was a wreck. So, man, welcome to Unscripted.
Thank you for having me, Aaron. I mean, it's such a blessing. It's amazing how God scripts our story and, how that's supposed to become, a spotlight that points us back to the King, man. So it's all part of his original design. And, we're here to leave an indelible mark to remind the next generation that we're here. So I'm excited to be a part of this today.
Well, let's start at the very beginning. I gave your bio, but let's hear it from you directly. What is Samaritan's Feet? Let's just tell us your story. That's what we're all about.
Yeah, Samaritan's Feet is a global humanitarian organization. Actually, we headquartered in a great Tar Heel state. I joke around and tell people God's a Tar Heel fan. Tar Heel moving my country.
Absolutely.
People all across the country. We still love you guys, but no, it's amazing to think about my journey. You can my accent. I'm not from Ohio. I'm from Nigeria. It's like my world was so different, Aaron. I was that kid that used to grow up every single day and say a simple prayer. I used to say, God, give me 001. I mean, simply that it's okay if I don't have breakfast. It's okay if I don't have lunch, but God, give me supper so I can make it to the next day.
Right.
It's funny, you look at me today and say, there's not a chance this brother's missed a meal in his life. You know what I'm saying? But I tell you what, my world and the world of millions of people around the world were very similar. My job at the age of 9 is to help my mom, perform a simple economic task to actually help provide a little bit as a street merchant to go sell water and sufferings for my mom, to put a little extra money on the table. And, so just like many kids in Africa and in different developing parts of the world, sometimes they do them before school, sometimes they do it after school, sometimes they do it all weekend, but it's part of our hustle. I tell people all the time, I tell my kid, I got 4 kids right now. I've been a salesman since the time I've been year big. My dad runs one of the biggest Coca-Cola bottling companies in the country, Frank Harrison. And I still remember telling Frank a while ago on his private jet flying, and I said, I was probably one of your earliest sales guy in Nigeria, selling athletes who play basketball or soccer, football by my house. One day I was helping my mom sell soft drinks at a park in Nigeria, and there was this group of people that came to teach African children how to play sports. See, in my country, everything that's round and bounce, we kick them, And, these guys brought this stuff called, they were orange basketballs, man. They were orange balls, and
right.
They were dribbling this one and passing this one and shooting this one. So I showed up at the park that day with all these kids having fun man, I saw them playing these balls. I'm like, God, I want to join this kid. But ever showed up in a place where you feel like you don't belong? I mean, maybe it's because of your zip code or where your background is. You walk into a boardroom and maybe I'm not invited to this part.
Yeah.
So I showed up there, I put my bucket of water down. I want to join them. They shooed me away because I was a street merchant. And, but sometimes it's just whoever it is that's watching out there, sometimes you got to push through because, oftentimes there's not enough shortage of people in life that's trying to keep us from pursuing our destiny. We'll see them in boardrooms, you see them in corporations, you see them in schools, you see them in your neighborhood, some of them in your family. They just hell bent to keep you from pursuing because they know the potential that God's deposited in you.
Right.
And today, there was no different at our park in Lagos, Nigeria. Those kids were placed there to try and discourage me because they didn't realize I was about to have a date with destiny. I showed up there that day and I'm looking at one that shoot me away. So I stood in the sideline watching. And all of a sudden, one of the balls rolled around the corner by this tree. So I quickly ran after that ball and brought it right in. And so I just snuck in like I was one of the kids. I was in there. And we were all African looking, they can tell the difference. Passing the ball, shooting the ball, dribbling the ball. Man, they were having a ball. And I know I was supposed to be there for a separate agenda, but today I was having fun with his kids. And all of a sudden, this guy, Dave from Wisconsin, said, we're going to have a shooting competition. He said, the prize for the winner is going to be a new pair of shoes. That place went nuts.
Wow.
You got to realize in my neighborhood, when your parents live on less than $1 a day, a pair of tennis shoes like a Mercedes Benz.
Right.
This guy said, we're going to give somebody a pair of tennis shoes. That place went crazy. Pick me, we're all jumping. I was one of the few that got picked.
Wow.
I never played basketball in my life. I didn't know I shot that ball that day. I ended up winning the competition.
Is that right?
I became the first person, not just in my family, but my community, to own a pair of tennis shoes.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy. I was so excited, Aaron. And, this guy called me to the front and it presented me this brand new shoes and the smiles on my face. I haven't even stopped smiling ever since that day because that became my trademark. I was so excited.
Right.
All I wanted to do was run home. And I was about to take off. This guy grabbed me by my shoulder. And he said, son, just because all you see around you is poverty doesn't mean that God of the universe is forgetting about you. Keep dreaming and keep dreaming big. They told me that day the sky was green. I would have believed him. I was so excited. After speaking, I took off.
Yeah.
Aaron, I ran so fast, I forgot my basket of soft drinks and water. I showed up at home. My mom looked at me and said, son, where's my water? I said, Mama, check out my shoes.
That's right. Forget your water. Look at my shoes.
Man, it was so, Mom was so happy for me for about a few seconds. And they said, so you better go bring my water back. Or else, you know what I'm saying? Right. And I ran all the way back there, just elated. And thank goodness my merchandise was still there. So I brought it back home. But from that day on, basketball became my escape. Home life was somewhat of a difficult life. I don't know about you, but in every single family, there's always somebody or somebody that we know that has a battle with dealing with addiction. That was one of those, and they struggle with alcohol, they struggle with a few other things. And, so, and every time, in those days when you'll get, drunk, guess who you get out of? All I ever heard from him at those times, I'm pretty sure he said some good words to me, but all I ever remember. So I'm saying this, if you listen to it, be careful what you say to your children. People always say, words, like there used to be that saying that you say sticks and stones, or, they'll hurt you. Words can destroy people. My father was like, even though he said some good things, but I'll never amount to much. Because of the spirit and alcohol would take over and he'd beat me and say some mean and evil things to me. Every time he'll say that, it's so cool. My mom will come behind him and she'll put her hands on my head and she says, son, just because all you see around you is poverty, remember this. My God that created you has promised that you can do all things. She used to say to me that whatever mean and evil things this man said about my son will never come to pass. Wow. God has promised me that my son could do all things through Christ who gives him strength. Wow. Mom always have a way of always encouraging me and reminding me and taking me back to the original intent of my existence, my creation. I was placed here as an assignment to accomplish something for the King. I don't know how she even had the faith, the ability to be able to plant this kind of seeds in my mind. Because when I grew up in the neighborhood I grew up in, even though I had dreams, but my dreams could be as far out as the moon. I didn't know how to connect those dots, and it was so difficult. But my mom was such an inspiration, and sometimes I go to my mom, I say, Mom, why do we have to live so poor? Mm-hmm. Why do we have to live like this? My mom's such an innovator, such a smart woman. She would take me by this little window of my house. She said, son, I want you to look outside. She said, son, what do you see? I'll look outside the window and I'll ramble and say, Mom, I see the trees. And I said, son, you're not looking high enough. She said, son, I want you to look higher and tell me, what do you see? And I said, Mom, I see birds flying. She said, son, you're not looking high enough. I want you to look higher and tell me, what do you see? I said, Mom, I see the clouds. And then she said, son, you ever wonder why God created the sky so high? I said, I don't know, Mom. And she said, so poor boys like you can dream.
Oh, wow.
Never make excuse for life. So just because it's going to be a crappy day doesn't mean tomorrow ain't going to be a great day.
Wow.
My God is on the throne says, son, you can do all things.
Wow.
So my mama said, and basketball became my escape. So every time I have any extra time after school, I'll go to the basketball court. I started getting bigger. I started getting better. I grew up to be about 6'4". I wasn't very big. I was skinny. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the best. I wasn't the quickest, but I had a desire to be good. Mm-hmm. Wake up every day and work on my game. And one day, right before my senior, I was actually getting ready to go into my senior year of high school, and I approached my coach. I said, Coach, I have a dream. And the coach said, okay, you have a dream. What's your dream? I said, Coach, I believe I'm supposed to go play basketball in America. And true story, he laughed at me. He said, son, you're not fast enough. You're not quick enough. You're not big enough. Who do you think you're going to get an opportunity to play basketball in the United States? You got to realize he's coming from the coach, the guy that coached one of the most famous Nigerian basketball player, guy by the name of Hakeem Olajuwon.
Oh, yeah.
So he knew exactly what he was talking about. I mean, if you know the dream, he discovered him, he taught him years ago before he started coaching us. And, so he said, man, but I got to tell you, man, you ballsy. The fact that you even came and asked me that question. Mm-hmm. But here's what I'm going to do for you. Because I never want to be someone that was known as a dream killer. He said, I'm going to give you some names of some schools. I'm pretty sure she gave me bottom feeders. He said, I want you to write them letters. If any of them, responds to you, here's the favor I'll do for you. I'll be willing to give you a recommendation and saying, yes, that you played for me. But that's how far I'm going to go. So I said, that's all I need. I just need a little in the door.
Just need a chance.
Will do. That's all I need. I just need a chance.
Yeah.
So I wrote letters, and in those days, put them in the snail mail all the way to the United States. All of a sudden, I ended up getting 5 different interests from different schools.
Wow.
I know nothing about America. I've heard about New York, I've heard about Los Angeles, and I've heard about Houston, Texas. Freaking kid didn't know much, man. Google didn't exist. Bing didn't exist. I didn't know how to do any research. So I'll do what every great, African kid would do. I'll pick the school with the best looking brochure.
Colors, right? Whatever had the best mascot.
I tell you, I laid them down on the table, and they had this beautiful blonde hair looking girls. They look gorgeous, and they have this guy. They must have borrowed this. The vehicle was a Corvette. I ended up buying one after I could afford one in the future because they tricked me real good. School I picked, the University of North Dakota in Lake Region.
What were the other ones? I'm sorry. What were the other ones?
Davidson, David Lipscomb, Milligan. There was a couple other ones I can't think right now, but they were all over the place. I didn't know Oklahoma. It's now called Oklahoma Christian University in Oklahoma City, and there's another one. And I still remember because Dan Hayes actually was coach at Oklahoma Christian, was one that really wanted me to come to school there. And but I didn't know the difference. I didn't know the difference between a 4-year school or 2 years school. Man, that looked pretty amazing. I'm going to that school.
They got a Corvette.
I'm telling you, man. Maybe all of them get a Corvette.
You're killing me. So you ended up where?
I ended up in North Dakota, brother. And I remember, true story. So I got accepted. I went through the process, send them this stuff. I filled out the form, and I also said, hey, whoever sent me my travel papers, which is called in those days called Form I-20, so get your visa and do all that. So whoever come. They were the first ones, the paperwork showed up. That's exactly my school. So I just said, man, this is where I'm going. But here's the deal. I was supposed to show up in school in June. because so I can kind of get acclimated and do all that kind of stuff. But we had to come up with $700 to buy a ticket. $700 in my household is like $7 million.
Right.
And I mean, when your parents live on about $1 a day,
Wow.
that's like boarding the Virgin intergalactic stuff going to Mars for me.
Right.
And so my mom sold all she had. She tried to borrow money, and man, we could not come up with $700. And on top of that, in those days, when you come play basketball in America, you had to be responsible for your own health insurance. You got to be responsible for a few other things. So I had to come up with another $300 to help me with as a traveler's check. So we got to come up with $1,000. And I got a letter in the spring. So through March, April, May, June came, July, August, September. The school giving up on me. This guy's not coming. And all of a sudden, some relative was able to come through. We borrowed some money. We did a bunch of stuff. We were able to buy the tickets. And I found out later on they only bought one-way ticket. And they bought an Alitalia. They flew me all the way to Chicago, Aaron. So I flew 2 days. Here's another side story. It was so crazy. I boarded the plane. They were passing out food on that plane. I thought they was going to cost them money. That was my first time living in the country. I never even ate the food.
Right.
I said, man, I ain't know where I'm spending this $300 in my traveler's check. I didn't realize that stuff was free. Question. And so flew all the way to Chicago, boarded overnight in Rome, all the way to Chicago, got to Chicago. I was so excited. I thought I'd got to my destination. At that time, there was this airline was still in business called Northwest Airlines. So
right.
I approached them at Chicago here. I said, hey, here's my address. I told the lady I was a gate attendant. Hey, I'm heading out to my school at University of North Dakota. She looked at me and said, son, you're not even close. I said, what do you mean? So I've been traveling for 2 days. And, she said, son, you got to have to fly aboard a Greyhound bus. I said, what's a Greyhound bus? He says, man, son, I won't even put my enemy on that bus. I said, oh, I ain't getting on that bus, whatever that is. And so she said, but you can buy this ticket. It was like $180 some, some crazy amount of money, which my parents can't even afford for the year. I'm like, I can't spend that kind of money.
Right.
Because I thought this $300 was going to last me for 2 years. And she's saying, now, son, you better buy that ticket. That's the only way you're going to get there. I saw my stomach was sick, Aaron. So finally bought it. And all the way from O'Hare Airport to Grand Forks, North Dakota, I just had the sickness in my stomach. Almost $200. So I landed in the airport. I learned my first lesson in America. I picked up the phone. I called my coach. Nobody was there. I said, what's up with this guy? Doesn't he know I'm supposed to be coming? I learned one of the first American lessons. You got to call ahead. I didn't even call them. I ended up sleeping at the airport that first night. And so the next morning I went to the gate attendant because nobody called me back. So I said, well, I showed him the address. He said, it's about another 90 miles from Grand Forks. I said, how big is this country, man? I've been traveling for like forever and I'm hungry. And, so it was so crazy. I said, man, the only way you can get there is you got to take this bus called Greyhound. That's another chance.
I already heard about that.
There's a lady in Chicago that told me about this stuff, man. I said, I ain't taking it. She said, son, that's the only chance you got. Finally boarded that Greyhound bus, man. I rode what it was supposed to be 90 miles, took us almost 5 hours. This stop in every podunk town, man. Right. I don't know what it was delivering. I finally got to my campus, to the city, the town called Devils Lake, North Dakota. And I talked to the guy, I said, here's where I'm going. He said, you got to walk around the corner. You take a ride here. You got to realize they had early winter in North Dakota that year.
Oh.
I had a linen outfit on. I didn't have a coat. I was carrying 2 bags that was empty. I got to look like I'm traveling, so there's nothing really in the bag. And I'm walking, and it was 2 miles. I didn't even know what 2 miles was. So I started walking, and I'm freezing. I'm shaking. And this amazing family pulled next to me, and they looked at me. They said, you must be Emmanuel. And that freaked me out.
They knew who you were.
He said, are you Emmanuel? I said, I didn't want to answer the question. I just landed in. They said, yeah, they wrote an article about you in May that you were going to be coming as an international student to come play basketball. all of a sudden we didn't hear, but when we saw it, we knew how bad. And no,
Yeah.
African guys kind of hanging around here.
That's right. Yeah.
You kind of stuck
Right.
out.
Right.
And this was 31 years ago. So they took me and they said, you want to ride? I said, absolutely. I'm going to campus. So they give me a ride and took me back there. We rode all the way with them. I got to the campus. Nobody was campus. Campus was just about shut down for the weekend. Said, well, we just coming from church. You want to go grab a bite to eat with me? I said, no. So I'm sorry, I haven't eaten in a couple of days. And so I went home with him. I mean, Aaron, this is the best part.
It gets better. I mean, it gets better. We already have planes, trains, and automobiles, and it gets better. Come on, man. Seriously, I can't wait for this.
It's crazy. I showed up, and it was like Thanksgiving. They had this feast. I mean, I've never seen that much more food in my life. But here's the problem: I didn't know how to eat it. I'm looking at this. Oh man, I don't know what this is. It looked mushy and all this stuff. It literally was mashed potatoes, gravy, and stuffing, and all this stuff. So I started looking. I saw, okay, I know this one. This one is the bun. I've seen this one is like bread.
Yeah.
I took the bun. I cut it wide open. I started putting stuffing in there. I didn't know I started eating like a sandwich. And this guy had like 3 sons, and the little one leaned over to his mom and said, "Mom, this guy's weird. He's eating like a sandwich."
That's awesome. But
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I ate, I fell asleep, I got up, and they finally took me to campus. And it was unbelievable. I got to campus, they quickly set up a room for me. The next morning, there was an early snow outside. And I said, "They got to change my room." I said, "I can't be looking at snow every single day."
That's right.
I literally convinced them, Aaron, to turn this storage room that's kind of like a boiler room in the middle of the dormitory into my bedroom. They have no windows, had nothing. And it was so cool. I cranked up my heat to about 84 degrees. I remember my coach came to visit me. He walked in here, ran back. I said, "You're going to kill yourself." I said, "I like it just like Africa, man."
That's right.
It was unbelievable. But that's
Wow.
where my journey began. And after 2 years there, I transferred to this college in Minnesota called Concordia, because it was the only ones that actually had an international business, international relations degree, because I literally thought, Aaron, my dream was to go run the UN food program. Because I knew what it was like to be hungry. I said, one day I want to learn everything that has to do with how do I run an international organization? And one day I want to know how to produce and manufacture. So I graduated there. I went to North Dakota State for my master's to get a double major, a master's in agricultural economics, applied economics, and international logistics and transportation. And I was a great student. So I was selected as one of the top students in my program. So they invited me to this conference in San Diego, California. So I landed in San Diego. I said, "God, why wasn't this one of my options?"
Right.
This is where I belong. And,
nicest city I've ever been to. Honestly.
Oh my God, it's a gorgeous place.
It's heaven on earth.
San Diego. I love San Diego.
Gorgeous.
And it was so cool. There was a gentleman by the name of Patrick Tien. It was a Singaporean brother. He was the CEO of this supply chain company. He approached me after they profiled me. And he said, "Manny, do you want a job?" I said, "Yes, I want a job."
That's right.
Like, he's going to like to fly me to Charlotte. I said, "Where's Charlotte?" He said, "The last time I didn't ask that question, I showed up in North Dakota."
And I'm not taking a Greyhound.
Yeah, no. So true story, flew me to Charlotte, offered me the job in the spot. I ended up taking it, and it was right at the heart of the technology boom, always going well. Company got acquired eventually and joined another technology company. Through that process, I said, "You know what? I need to learn every aspect of the supply chain aspect of delivering products globally." Through the season of my life, my father got real sick. I always tell people all the time that in life, God always allows us to make our choices. Mm-hmm. Seldom will He ever allow you to pick your consequences.
I'm sorry, you broke up. Allow you to make your choices.
I said, God will allow you to make your choices, but seldom will He ever allow you to pick your consequences.
Absolutely.
Because your choices always have consequences. My father's choice to abuse all the things he abused, the alcohol, all the things he took, eventually caught up with him. And my father was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver, and my father was dying. It was the most beautiful thing in that season because, I knew if my father was to die, I knew my father was going to hell. But God used me and used my sister through me to lead my father to Christ.
Wow.
2 weeks after that process, my father passed away. and went to be with the Lord. And I know I'll see him in heaven one day, and I'm so excited about that. And I had to go back to Nigeria to go bury my dad. And I've been gone now for about 10 years and forgotten what living in poverty was like. I'm living the American dream. I remember showing up at my house, Aaron. I literally couldn't even use our bathroom. It was that bad. I had to go across the street to the park where I used to go sell water. And as I came out of that restroom and I looked on the horizon with those kids with no shoes and with no hope. And that's when the thought was in my soul, in my psyche. What if I can come start helping kids just like this? And remind them also that they can also dream big dreams. And start bringing them shoes and use that as a platform to actually open their lives. And then I said, man, maybe this is for somebody else. Maybe not. This is not for me. I've now escaped that. I'll support somebody else, man. And then when God wants you, God always gets you.
Right.
I came back to America. I told my wife and what I've seen, and then I learned that over 300 million kids woke up each day in Africa with no shoes. I thought that was an injustice.
Say that again. Say that.
300 million people.
Wow.
Each day in Africa with no shoes. But that wasn't the worst, Aaron. World Health Organization said 1.5 billion people were infected with diseases that can without having shoes.
Because they didn't have shoes.
They didn't have shoes. 1.5 billion. I mean, diseases like photoconiosis, cysticercosis, fungiasis, all these ringworms that can come into people's body through their feet because they have no shoes.
And Manny, I'm sorry. Let's just put that in perspective because I don't know I don't have it anywhere near me, and maybe I'm not even close on the numbers. I'm not that bright, but we have a global pandemic right now, and everybody's wearing masks, right? We're all wearing masks. We're doing our thing. We're getting our vaccines, and whatever you feel about that is whatever you feel. I don't know, and maybe I'm completely off on this. Have 1.5 billion people been affected by? Right? I mean, just for some perspective, it's a worldwide pandemic. In many ways, is it fair to say that not having shoes is a worldwide pandemic based on the number you just gave me?
It's a pandemic that people don't even know exists.
Right.
That people are living with every single day just because of the zip code where they're born.
My gosh.
Just because, the fact that I tell my kids all the time that they are some of the most blessed people on the face of this earth. Mm-hmm. The mere fact that they were born in America, that set them apart to be in the top 1% of the world in excessive blessings.
Absolutely.
And that's the reality of people in our world. And people didn't know that shoes is part of the school uniform in many parts of the world. Without shoes, kids can't go to school. So it's not just having uniforms, but shoes. So you got kids that their parents got to decide, do I feed my kids? Do I clothe my kid? Do I buy medication? Do I buy shoes? Hey, if you ain't got shoes, you can't go to school. So kids were missing the education window. Kids couldn't attend school, and all of a sudden they start becoming street merchant, and their window closes, and all of a sudden they become part of the statistics because of something that we in this country use as a fashion accessory.
Yes, and that's where you got me. In the video that I was watching, you said shoes are a fashion statement for us, and many people it's their mode of transportation. Man, and I literally, my wife and I sometimes share a home office, and I looked back on the floor, and I probably have 10 pairs of shoes, and I'm not bragging. They're not all Jordans, and I mean, we're talking just running shoes, whatever. Still, who cares if it's a $20 pair of Cons? I probably had 10 pairs of shoes in my office on the floor because that's where I keep my shoes, slides, whatever you want to call them, various shoes. And as you said, that's a fashion statement. And for many, it's a mode of transportation. And Manny, I broke down. I'm not gonna lie, I broke down. We can get my wife if you want, bring her on, because she's looking at me kind of weird. And I was just like, we are blessed. We are blessed in this country, and we forget just how blessed we are because we live in this country. I was born into this, and that's all I know. But it's such a wake-up call to speak to someone like yourself who has seen all angles of this, and man, we're blessed.
I mean, one of the places where we work is in Uganda, and we work in now. I think we've served kids in about 110 countries. We've served kids now. Right now, as of this month, we've served over 8.34 million people worldwide, and in 44 U.S. states, 440 plus U.S. cities. I still remember the first time I went to this place in Uganda, in Mississippi, and they have this jiggers, and it's a parasite that burrows through the soil, and they're looking for opening in your feet. You have a little cut, you step on a corroded metal, you step on a bottle, your barbed wire or whatever, you have a little laceration. That's their access point. And then they travel through your blood system and your skin starts changing. It looks like you have leprosy. And the cure for it, Aaron, is their shoes. And millions, I'm talking millions of people in the world has this condition, not just in Africa. You can go to, like Colombia, South America, you can go to India, you go to all these places. I go to Ethiopia. This one this one actually broke me. I went to Ethiopia, and we do a lot of work in Ethiopia, and there's this condition called podoconiosis. It's a non-filarial type of elephantiasis. And many of them live in agrarian cultures, so they're farmers. So they are working in silica soil, try to cultivate the soil to be able to provide for their families. But because they have no protection for their soul, that soil eats away at the protective souls and then attacks their nerve system. And their feet starts expanding from your regular size to twice, sometimes 4 times their regular size. And it has pus. I'm sorry, you smell. Literally, you are treated like a leper. Nobody wants to be around you. So you can't provide for your family. Your kids can't eat. Your kids can't go to school because of something that's a fact. 5 million people in Ethiopia have this condition. Over 1 million of them children. Because of shoes. This is just, and we can solve that problem today by just providing them shoes. Shoes, just provide that protection. You can reverse the trend. If you capture and find those people early enough, we can soak that feet in chlorine. We have therapies that we can give to them. This socks that just help pushes out all this inflammation and then just keep their feet away from that soil, and you change their lives. And if you catch it too late, you have to amputate their feet.
Oh my gosh. So
shoes, that's why I say to people, I said, man, how can we team up to really help us? We can actually stop this problem in our lifetime. This is not something where you need billions of dollars and a whole bunch of medications. And we've actually, that's why when we talk about the prophylactic shoe, we created our world shoe. That's a solution. We'll get to that later on. But that's where we started seeing what's going on. But I got to tell you how I actually got called, because, it took me a little bit, because oftentimes people always know that they're called to something much bigger, but comfort. Because I used to joke around. I used to say, God invented direct deposit for me, because man, I know that check is showing electronically in my bank account. But I knew I was called to something much bigger, Aaron. But I was so scared of stepping up, so I kept putting that in the box.
Right.
So I was part of my third or so software company, and my buddy brought me back to Charlotte to come and lead the business development, the alliances, the marketing, and product management of this new software company. We're going to come up with this amazing innovation to provide scheduling for the grocery and retail space, help provide advanced visibility to people's inbound so people can better coordinate and schedule. And we were selling to the likes of Walmart and Safeway and Kroger, all this kind of people. And it was so crazy. We just went, I think this was our Series C, getting ready for our D series of VC funding, and we just raised significant dollars. And it was so funny, this VC out of New York looked at all of us at that time. He said, man, you guys need some adult supervision. we just give you guys millions of dollars, man. And all of us were like 28 and 30-year-olds, like.
My kind of company.
We need some gray hair around these guys, man. So it was so funny. They brought a handful of guys that were kind of seasoned to kind of become executive layer to provide some guidance and coaching. And all of a sudden overnight, I had a boss, and we brought this VC brought this president in. So the CEO was a founder, myself, and some of the other guys that was the original ELT of this company. We were like, what's going on? And so we were looking at actually going to acquire a company in Dallas, Texas. It was so crazy. My new boss, Jay Rollins, he and I flew down to Dallas. So the night before, we said, hey, we got a meeting tomorrow, let's just go get some tickets. Let's go watch my favorite player, Vince Carter, play against, the Dallas Mavericks, because he was playing for New Jersey then. And so we went and got a ticket. We showed up at the arena, and as we sat down, Jay turned around and looked at me. He said, Manny, if money wasn't an issue, how would you change the world? I looked around, I said, I'm just what kind of question is this? And so I started sharing with passion, excitement about this vision I had to put shoes on. I started telling them the statistics and my burden that I want to be able to not just provide them shoes, but I want to create a platform to be able to wash their feet and use that as a transaction, making an exchange of soul for their soul, and create the dialogue to understand what their dreams are and how can I connect them to people that can help them make those dreams become reality. But that all starts through the gift of shoes. And the more I shared, and he just stopped me. He said, Manny, why are you here? And when your boss asks you a question why you're here, you change the subject pretty quick.
Right.
And so I was like, God, let this game start. I don't want to talk to this guy about this stuff anymore. All of a sudden the buzzer hit. I said, thank goodness, I don't have to talk about it.
So thank you, Vince Carter.
Oh my goodness. But it was crazy. I didn't realize that day a seed was planted. A couple of weeks after that trip, my wife and a group of our friends went to this conference in Greensboro, North Carolina, with this lady called Joyce Myers. I don't know if you've ever heard about that.
Mm-hmm. So
she was holding this conference, the Joyce Myers conference. So I with a lady, got into a van with my wife. They drove all the way. This was in 2002 at this time. 2003, actually, early 2003. And, they went down there. And as they were about to get out of the vehicle to go check into the hotel, this lady, this is the first time my wife, they just rode from Charlotte to Greensboro. She said, Tracy, can I talk to you? I said, absolutely. She looked at my Tracy in the eye. She said, God has called you and your husband to a big vision. You guys keep putting God in the box. And Tracy said, who is this woman? She started telling Tracy some things that we've never told a soul. And she said, God has called you guys to go mobilize an army of young people to go impact the world with his love. Wow. She saw a convoy of trucks. Remember that word, convoy of trucks, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And right after she finished speaking, she said, is it okay if I serve you in a very unique way? She said, what do you mean? And she had a bottle of Deer Park water. She said, is it okay if I wash your feet? Wow. It's called you to go serve his creation all across the globe. And Tracy is weeping. Mm-hmm. And she went to that conference for 2 days. She got home. I've done something wrong to Tracy. She walked in the house. I know you're married. And when you know you've done something wrong, when you see your wife's face, I said, oh, man. And she said to me, honey, we've been disobedient. So what are you talking about? She shared what this lady shared with her. It was such confirmation. We both wept. And I said, well, I got to find a way to get away with my wife. I got to distract this woman because I'm not ready to step out now. I've got responsibilities in Africa. This time I've got 3 with 1 on the way. Wow. I said, man, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. I was trying to pacify my bride. I said, to South Carolina to go pray. Make a getaway. She'll forget it. I kind of do my husband thing, For those not watching and just listening, he made air quotes when he said that. So it was like, so we went to Charleston, and it was so crazy, and we got to Charleston, and right before we went out to dinner, my wife looked at me again and said, honey, what is it going to take for you to try and go pursue what God has called us to do? I said, woman, stop asking me this question. We're going to come here for a great weekend. Right. We're going to pray. We're going to go back. We'll talk about that on Sunday. Today's Friday. Let's talk about that on Sunday. So she said, She said, what is it going to take for you? And I was trying to get my wife off this subject. So I said to her, try and think this will put her to bed. I just need to save with another 6 months of income. I know we have enough savings. So if I combine 6 months of income and what I got, I would probably can survive for a couple of years. I know God is pretty busy. Just in case it forgets his African boy now, I can still survive for a couple of years. Aaron, I wished I said 3 years that day. Because Monday morning, I did all my conference calls with all our sales guys and our alliance partners across the country. And I stepped out to go grab lunch. I stepped in the door of Jay, the guy that we went to Dallas together. I said, Jay, you want a bite? He said, hey, come into my office. I want to talk to you about something. And Jay shuts the door. Or shuts the door when he talks to me.
It's not good.
This is not good.
Not good.
And Jay said, do you remember that conversation we had in Dallas? I said, what conversation did I have with you? She said, what if I can help you start that organization you're talking about?
Wow.
I'm like, this is something weird. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I'm going to cut to the chase. The president of the VC just brought wants to bring a guy to take over your job.
Wants to bring what? Say again.
Wants to bring another guy in.
Another guy to do your job. Okay.
To do my job. And also they're going to look at actually displacing the CEO and a couple other guys. I heard the passion in your voice. Now I'm getting mad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what the heck is this guy? I'm actually not using the word heck. I'm using all the colorful words that's not very nice because now this guy is saying some weird things. I still call that day my Black Monday. Realized that was going to be the best day of my life.
Wow.
And then the guy told me, said, I'm going to cut to the chase. I can give you this amount of money. Go start. It was exactly 6 months I told my wife.
Wow.
That day.
Wow.
Now I'm weeping.
Mm-hmm.
I jumped out of his office. And I rushed out. I didn't even go to my office. I picked up the phone. I called my brother. I said, Tracy, I think God answered this prayer a little too quick. What are you talking about? I said, I think I lost my job today. She said, no, she's a little nervous.
And oh, by the way, good news, bad news.
And then she could hear in my voice that I was crying. Honey, come home. She said, to whom God calls, he always is good. I know you're scared, but God knew this day was coming. I'm glad you're going to say yes. So I went home and we wept, we prayed, and I knew I was called, but not even a day after that stuff, I started getting calls from people. Because I guess word travels that. And 2 days after that, I had a couple people call me and say, hey, we heard you're no longer going to be with these guys. And Tracy looked at me. She said, if you accept any of those opportunities, you've been disobedient to God.
Say it again, because every now and then you break up. I want to make sure we don't miss anything.
She said, if you even consider any of those opportunities, then you've blatantly been disobedient to God.
Wow. If you consider any of those opportunities, you're being blatantly disobedient to God. Wow.
And I looked at her and I knew she was sorrowful. And so I stepped out in faith. And we started this organization called Samaritan. We put shoes in the feet of 10 million people all over the world. We wanted to make sure the dream and the vision was so audacious that only God could make the realization of this possible. Because I didn't even know what the heck 10 million looked like.
Right.
I knew it had to be big because if God was to make this come to fruition, God had to come true.
He had to show up.
And he showed up. It was so crazy. So the first few years, Aaron, we were trying to distribute shoe. We did shoe drives to connect with some companies and schools. And we went on our first trip to South Africa. That was unbelievable. I still remember we took 2,000 pairs of shoes. Is that right about it? No, it was about 1,000 pairs of shoes we took to South Africa. And we looked outside after we finished serving the first 1,000. There was over 2,000 people in the room who were shaking the gates. People were trying to throw their kids over the fence.
Just to get a pair of shoes.
And I realized, I said, man, this is a lot bigger than I thought. And I had to go outside because the guy we work with said, you got to go talk to them. And I promised them, we're going to come back. We're going to make sure we serve you guys all one day. which we did. I provide you guys shoes. And from that day on, I started working so tirelessly that until God takes me, I'm going to work through this vision, not just to get to 10, but one day to be able to work towards creating a world with zero children. And it's crazy to think about now. By the end of this year, we'll be about 9 million people served. By next year, we will hit that 10 million goal. Over 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, we started on this journey about my dream to be able to invent a world shoe, the first of its kind that has an active antimicrobial nano silver that actually repels bacteria and parasite infection. We actually incorporated a biodegradable agent in there, so when the shelf life of the shoe is over, we can actually bury the shoes, and a few years later, it biodegrades, so we don't become an environmental nuisance. So it's crazy to think that God will trust. We talk a lot of time that with the in comfort in which we've been comforted, we honor others. That my misery will one day become a ministry. I never thought a shoeless kid in Africa will one day stand, on the show of TNT and Charles Barkley and Ernie Johnson and Kenny Smith and all these guys would be going barefoot. And because of that, I got the chance to challenge, coaches across the United States to coach barefoot, from Calipari to just name all of them, just to be a part of our movement. I challenged a barefoot coach from Indiana, IUPUI, to be the first coach to help me coach a game on national TV with no shoes in honor of Dr. King. We ended up we were supposed to be 40,000 pairs of shoes in 2008. We ended up raising over 220,000 shoes, which led to this relationship with TNT, which led me to go to the Final Four in San Antonio, and then which led me to connecting with Ernie Johnson, which led us after I was on the TNT show, and this guy came to me and said, "Manny, are you for real?"
Right.
He said, I can get you 1 million shoes. I said, "Don't tease
me." I can get you 1 million shoes?
1 million pairs of shoes. I said, "Don't tease me." It turned out this gentleman was one of the dear friends of Kenny Smith. He was part of an initiative that he was working with Stephen Jackson, Al Arrington, and they were launching a new shoe line called Protege. We were going to launch exclusively a true Sears Kmart. We just bought Kmart because what's his name? The guy that used to be in New York, Stephen Marbury, just did the strawberries.
Right.
So they were looking for an affordable type of shoe. But then Sears said, if you're going to do this, we want the launch of this product to be one of the biggest gifts. And they were looking for a way to be able to make that big splash. And it turned out that day I was on TNT. And that guy saw me. He said, "That's the conduit." Sears ended up donating over $34 million worth of shoes.
Oh my gosh. Donating
million shoes worth over $30 million. You remember when I said a while ago that lady saw a convoy of trucks? It was 442 truckloads of shoes, convoy of trucks across the nation that would represent future people that we have to put shoes on their feet. To think about how God does what is done. And in 2008, I decided I'm gonna walk from Charlotte to Atlanta in my bare feet to draw attention to the plight of kids. So it was gonna be the world walk. So I left Charlotte. My buddy, Marcus Smith, their parents runs the Speedway here and a whole bunch of other cities. So we're gonna go from the Speedway here that they're on in Charlotte to Speedway in Atlanta. I walked barefoot. I thought 300 miles was gonna take me a couple of days. It ended up taking me 2 weeks. I didn't realize Atlanta was that far.
It's right. And Charlotte, Carolina's not flat either.
Man, I'm telling you, man, it was something else. It was like, I mean, it was in October, and it's crazy. It became the hottest October on our record.
Figures.
Barefoot.
Thanks, God.
Man. The podiatrist would see me every night and said, "Manny, why are you trying to kill yourself?"
Yeah.
I ended up losing about 2 or 3 toenails, and my feet was just. And I still remember the podiatrist telling me, "You need to stop every night." I said, "I get to do this for 2 weeks."
Mm-hmm.
For the 1.5 billion people around the world, this is their reality. And the head of social responsibility for Crocs actually was walking with me the first 5 days. And I still remember Melissa. After the first couple of days, she said, "Man, you must be really crazy, or you really believe in this."
Right.
I ended up donating about 1 million pairs of shoes because of that.
Wow.
It's amazing. Just people started coming out of the woodworks. We teamed up with Skechers through their Bob's program. We ended up distributing over 2 million pairs of shoes for them. We teamed up with Nike. God just started bringing all these people. And then 2009 hit, the market crashed.
Right.
We thought we were going to always get shoes, and guess what happened?
No shoes.
So we had to completely reinvent ourselves. Created a business model around this, how we can find people to sponsor this distribution. So all of a sudden, we realized we were actually a solution, not just for kids overseas, but kids right here in the United States. So all of a sudden, the corporation were looking for social responsibility platform that they can connect with, and also as a calling card to engage their associates. It became a win for them, and we were able to now start sourcing and manufacturing or producing shoes or buying shoes, so we can then, because then corporation can say, geez, I can adopt a Padawan school in Ohio and in North Carolina and South Carolina and Virginia, whatever it is, and we can bring 50 to 100 of our associates to come wash their feet, talk to them, take over that school that day. And imagine we've been doing all this stuff, all been going well, and then last year COVID hit. And we are a high impact, high energy mission where we touch the health concerns that we've got to be 6 foot apart, which means because of health reasons, we can't even go onto any campuses. Schools shut down. So we're like, how are we going to survive?
Right.
Livable, our team innovated. We reinvented ourselves. They came up with this idea called our Hope Totes. So we can actually put the shoes in there, put the socks in there, put hygiene kits in there. We created a way for people from around the world called our Hope Notes. You can go to our website and write a message of hope. Corporations started engaging and activating their corporations. They can write these Hope Notes. And then all of a sudden, from there, we teamed up with one of our healthcare partners to give us instruction on how kids can be healthy. So how do you be well? So you don't have to go contract this virus. And then there was such a social upheaval in our society with all the craziness that was going on because of racism. So we have to start teaching kids, how do we be kind? So we give them instruction. How can you be a kind? Because we forgot what kindness was.
Right.
Merciful boy. We're just, who's your neighbor? Because, actually we're launching a Samaritan Leadership Institute, a servant leadership institute model that we're going to teach people based on the principles and the story of the Good Samaritan. We're actually going to be launching a leadership philosophy based on that.
Wow.
How do you become a Samaritan? How do you reach across cross-cultural line? How do you give selflessly to show love and compassion? How do you, we call it radical generosity. How do you live a life? How does corporation embrace that? How can that become the ethos and the DNA of schools? We're actually teaching this stuff at Clemson University right now through our servant leadership class that we're going to be experimenting with a bunch of stuff. End of this year, we're going to launch this Leadership Institute as part of our future. So we can, because we've engaged now close to a couple 100,000 volunteers. Now we're saying, how can we help people discover their why and teach them this philosophy? How do we identify global servants and Samaritans at schools, high schools, middle schools, elementary school, and reward them and recognize them and set them up to go start charities or whatever it is to go change the world? It's amazing to think about all that started, Aaron. Because I'm pretty sure that guy from the state of Wisconsin, many people probably discouraged him.
Right.
Africa. Oh, mosquitoes are going to kill you. You're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
But never realized he was going to activate hope in the heart of an African kid.
In a moment.
Millions.
In a moment.
I was at the United Nations a few years back. And the late president of Burundi, President Pierre Nkurunziza, was a dear friend of mine. Him and his wife, they were recognizing them for the work that we've done with them in that country. We've established probably about 4 computer learning centers in the country, served over almost 400,000 people with shoes to prevent diseases. We've started mushroom farm, done a bunch of amazing things in the country. It was so crazy. They were recognized as 5 heads of states and first ladies. And as they were showing the vignette of the video of Burundi, it was all the things we were doing in that country.
Wow.
I come to Tracy, I say, you got to pinch me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Tracy looked at me and said, honey, I think you forgot what kingdom you're from.
You forgot what kingdom you're from?
You're from.
Wow.
I said, man, I'm this poor African kid.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a water sales boy.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy gave a pair of shoes to. I said, all I'm doing is just washing people's feet.
Right.
And God loves them. You keep dreaming big. I never knew we will be part of the reconciliation story that happened in Burundi, the Hutu and Tutsis, where they wash each other's feet. And every time they put on a pair of shoes, they will read the peace declaration that I will not kill, I will live in peace. I wonder if Dave never came. People like you and I doesn't become the face of love in communities. We can give a cup of water in the name of Christ. We can give a pair of shoes in the name of Christ. We can go show love at Taiwan schools across America.
Mm-hmm.
Just wonder how many millions would not be served if that died in heaven.
Because one guy from Wisconsin showed up, right?
And the ripple.
Generosity. Man, Manny, I'm gonna say a couple of things, and I haven't not been paying attention at times. I've been writing notes, and our connection at times is broken up, and I don't want to miss any of this. And I want people to, just in case it broke up and people are still listening, there's a few things you've said that are so rich. One of them was misery becomes ministry. Your misery becomes your ministry. Man alive, we don't need to say anything else. That you're living that. And if anybody's been listening for the past, 45 minutes, hour, your misery became your ministry. And thank God for that guy from Wisconsin that showed up that day, and that basketball that rolled over into a place where you picked it up. It changed your life. I think we look for these aha moments, and sometimes God's so simple. You know what I mean? It's like I've given you a million aha moments, and you missed every one of them. Like, what else do you need from me? You know what I mean? And
come on.
You have absolutely lived that. The other thing I will tell you is, it sounds like you had an incredible mom, as did I, and you have an incredible bride, as do I. Those two things are so important, right? I mean, I know that you spoke about your dad and losing him and those challenges, but you had an incredible mom of faith, and you have an incredible bride that puts wind in your sails.
Come on.
And boy, if we've got one of those two things or both, man, we're blessed, right? We're blessed because I'm a bit of a visionary too, as evidence of this podcast. And to have a bride or a mom that says go do it, you know what I mean? And then to have a bride, and now I'm gonna get choked up. To have a bride that stands behind you, man, it's you got to have it. It's huge, and thank God for our brides. You said we're in the top 10% of the world in wealth, right? I think we forget that sometimes because we get caught up in the fact that I have to wear a mask in the gas station. Sorry, that's not a political rant. It's just the truth, right? Man, have we got it messed up. And I think you've seen enough. And I say that not to be political or to for any other reason than we really need a wake-up call. Sometimes you need that cold cup of water thrown in your face to realize, man, we're blessed. We're blessed. I can go pick a restaurant right now within 5 minutes of my house, and there's people that don't have shoes. And I know that sounds really simplistic, but seriously, think about that for a minute. Like, that's unbelievable. The other thing that I think that you said that was so powerful is you pushed the bar so high that God had to show up. It was that audacious. And you know what? Sometimes we have to do that, right? Like, I can make an easy goal. I mean, I think sometimes like, hey man, easy goal. No, sometimes you got to push that thing so far out there that there's no way, because we want signs and wonders, when the reality is sometimes you got to step out. You have to take that moment of faith and say, I'm going to push this out there so far that, trust me, I'm going to fail huge if God doesn't show up. And you know what? He usually does. If you've had the signs and wonders that you've had throughout your career, your wife going to the conference, all the things, all these stories, these things that you had those signs and wonders. He sent you every sign to say, go to Nineveh. And you went.
Come on.
You went. And because of that, he showed up, and he continues to show up in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of a global, crash of the market. He's now created new avenues for you.
We were supposed to serve 1 million last year. We ended up serving 747,000 in the midst of a pandemic.
In the midst of a pandemic, when you can't touch or be near people.
I mean, only God can do such a thing.
Right. It's amazing.
So
it's amazing.
So, I wrote a book titled Soul Purpose.
Okay.
And you can get that. You can go to MannyOhonme.com and you can get this. And it's amazing to think. And you can read in there. And our title is Soul Purpose for one reason. It's a double meaning.
Mm-hmm.
because SOLE means our soul, but also the sole of our feet.
Yes.
What's the singular purpose for which we've been created? I think that's the journey. If you're looking for that journey, get this book.
Yeah.
It shows all those God ha-ha moments.
Right.
Power of saying yes to God.
Right.
Three-letter word. That three-letter word is pretty powerful. That will radicalize and transform your life. Just say yes.
Well, I'm so glad you brought it up. And honestly, Manny, we could talk for hours. But I want to be respectful of your time because you are an important, you're a busy man and a lot. I will have all the links, but let's run through them real quick. You have a book, you have a business, Samaritan's, not a business, you have a nonprofit, I believe it is Samaritan's Feet.
So Samaritan's Feet is a nonprofit we have. I have a speaking business. I speak across the country. I have books and, I'm launching this Leadership Institute, or Samaritan Leadership Institute.
Right.
I serve on a number of boards. One of them being I serve as chair of one of the largest healthcare group actually in the Midwest called Stand for the Health, about a $7 billion company. So I'm involved because I'm always a student. I'm always learning. I came from a technology background. I own a shoe company that's, so it's amazing to think about, how God can use your yes to truly, and always remember, make sure your vision and your goal is big enough to create rooms for others to join you.
Right. Oh, I love that.
When you truly make, life-lasting changes.
Say that again. I really love that. That you're big, your room, your I'm gonna screw it up. You say it again.
Just to make sure your vision and your dream is big enough to create room for others to join you.
Oh,
and have long life-lasting changes.
That was a mic drop moment, man.
But it's so true, because I tell people all the time, because for me, I get the chance to hang out from CEOs of some of the top corporations to some of the top NFL, NBA, you mentioned, to regular people. I still remember us, serving some of the homeless kids at the corporate headquarters of General Motors in Detroit, Michigan. And I've been working for GM for over 30 years, weeping, saying, I've been doing this for over 30 years, but never in my wildest dream did I ever think the C-suite of General Motors would be humble enough to go wash people's feet.
Yes.
And bring them to their corporate headquarters. Because I think sometimes God uses us to really, inspect what he's expecting from others. Because it's like a mirror you put in their faces. You say, man, I'm not doing enough to make a difference. So I always tell people that truly service to others will emancipate us from the judging of our own self, because we are selfish. And once you turn that around and start serving others, God start creating some unbelievable opportunity. Service and humility and love of people, the world changes.
Yeah. Man, Manny, this has been, and we never even said, shout out to my bestie, Chris, and my former college roommate, best man, all those things, for setting this up. Man, what a blessing this has been for me. And I know it's going to reach and bless. Hopefully it'll reach a lot of people. I can't tell how many people it reaches, but I do know that anybody that hears this will be blessed. What are the ways that we can help? And I know we'll get all the links. I'll put everything in there. You mentioned you have a website. Samaritan's Feet has a website.
Absolutely.
You have a book.
A book, our World Shoe. You can go to theworldshoe.com.
Theworldshoe.com.
Worldshoe.com.
Okay.
You can also, right now, we have a vision to put, we actually launched as part of this pandemic, a new concept, an innovation called our shoe locker. We put in, for $5,000, you can put a locker at a Title I school in your community anywhere in the United States, where there will be access ready for teachers, principals, resource officers, guidance counselor, when they see kids that's coming to school with shoes that are sometimes 2, 3, 4 sizes too small, they can meet that need right there. And so we are right there, and every year we can always replenish that. And people can do that. Your family can do that, your corporation can do that, your church can do that, your civic group can do that, you as a foundation can do that. People can join us. That's one thing we want to be able to have people join us right now. I'm so excited. I'm thinking the next year here, we're going to be moving to our new corporate office, a 15-acre campus here in Charlotte that I'm very excited about. Just everything that's great starts out small, and I can see the hand of God. So I want to challenge you watching today, and you saying, man, I have this idea, but I just don't know how to start. Oh, I'm going to tell you, just start.
Yeah.
Just say yes, just start. And so be a Soul Society partner. Go become a monthly partner with us, and give a pair of shoe a day, give a pair of shoe a month. Let your family make some sacrifice so you can go on a mission trip with us. You want to experience that. Bring your company, bring your family, bring your school. Let's go serve together. I guarantee you, your life will never be changed the same again. Because when you pick up a pair of feet that's been bruised, battered, dirty, and you start washing that feet, and all of a sudden some surgeries start happening in your heart. You think making a difference in their lives, but it's to you. And then they start sharing their dreams with you. And all of a sudden you realize God is using you to truly become an answer to somebody else's prayer. And that's what we're doing all over the world. So thank you for having me today.
Oh, man.
Can't wait to see how we can serve the world together. Maybe we can bring this to your city, be a part, to get people to get engaged. And let's adopt a bunch. Let's set up some shoe lockers at Title I schools across Ohio. Let's change people's lives. But through this, let's turn these people that think they know success and encourage them to be humble, to serve.
Wow. I mean, that line right there is powerful too. Think they know success and encourage them to be humble, because God opposes the proud, right? I mean, and man, there's so many things that you said. I wish we had another hour. I really do, because there's so many things you said. And a couple more points. You have connections with the NBA, NFL. You said you were on TNT. It's amazing that God has connected you in so many ways. And when offline, I'm going to make a connection for you in Ohio that I think will be very, very important for you, and for the connection I'm going to make for you, because I think it would be huge for both of you. I think it'll benefit both parties and ultimately benefit God's mission and work in this here in the world. So, man, so anybody listening to this, if you know of a connection, again, I will have the links in this post, but at the same time, contact me. I will get them in touch with you. Anybody listening, because I think you mentioned one other thing before we get off. A lot of companies will do a sponsorship of whatever it is, but they also have a reserve for philanthropic type opportunities. And many of them are leaning more towards the philanthropic nowadays than they are about just putting their name on a NASCAR or in some gym somewhere or whatever it is. They will much more be likely to give philanthropically, because it obviously benefits a lot of different things, including their business, financially and all those things. So anybody listening to this, that you have a business, this is a really good opportunity for you. And hopefully this time has been worth it. It's been worth it for me. If nothing else, you've filled my cup today in so many ways. What a blessing. And I can see why you and Chris were friends. You're good people, man. You're just great people. Thank you so much. What an honor this has been for me.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me. And to bless us, and that Unscripted would be all over the place, man, all over the map. And
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Hey, I'm out there. God's got to show up. He's got to be our day.
He's already there. He's already there. Keep doing it, man. Keep letting your light shine, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. Have a great evening.
You too.
Talk soon. Bye.